you think it's possible that drawn forward shoulders like this could be a symptom of Alzheimer's dementia? Because I asked this. Tony Robbins, years ago, when I used to listen to him a lot, he talked about how they did a blood sample study of people who were drawn forward like this and how they secreted more cortisol. The reason why I'm thinking about this too is I'm always thinking about Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes type 3, but the cerebellum has close, deep relational bond with the hippocampus region of the brain, which is our memory center. And in Alzheimer's dementia, the hippocampus is seen to shrink. And it can also shrink when we experience stress for long periods of time. It's seen shrinking from people who identify as depressed, right? Because it has a lot to do, our memory center has a lot to do with our ability to be calm or in fight or flight. So the coolest thing about the cerebellum, when thinking about this, is that the cerebellum regulates posture. So if I could think of myself, like Tony Robbins said, they did blood samples on people who sat up straight, shoulders back, and they had higher levels of testosterone than cortisol. And, you know, from what they talk about with, there's like a seesaw balance with cortisol and testosterone, because like everything, like left and right, like nature loves symmetry. So there's left and right, there's masculine and feminine. Within our hormones, testosterone would be a building hormone, and then cortisol would be a breakdown hormone, right? We're building or we're breaking down. When I exercise, I break down my muscle so that I can build it up again, right? And nature is like this, you know, little slide. So, I mean, if you think about this, you know, being hunched over, you know, it could be a symptom, an early sign symptom of Alzheimer's dementia. Now, is this proven? No. Am I just spitting thoughts into the ether? Yes. And do I just want to encourage you to go do your research on these, you know, go research cerebellum biochemistry, cerebellum glucose regulation, you know, cerebellum tied to hippocampal function, biochemistry. Pull you up some papers, you know. What does the cerebellum and the hippocampus, what do they both have in common? Well, you know what's beautiful about our bodies, and I just feel like I've been put here to remind you how beautiful you are. As I, you know, fall in love with the cell, it reminds me of how beautiful I am. Everybody's body, no matter what shape, size, age, sex, loves light. Mitochondria, they love light. I made a video a while ago. It was mitochondria don't have a political party. That's the best thing about these cells that function at this level. Like, they're not caught up in the chaos of the world, you know. What strikes this stress response, you know? Anything outside. And there's a quote that I like. It's like, there's some fool sitting by a waterfall in the middle of nowhere, completely calm, oblivious to the chaos. And, you know, you don't have to be completely oblivious, but there's so many things in the outside world that, like, our mitochondria want to be stolen. Like, we only have one enemy. The enemy is stress. And Otto Warburg talked about how in cancer progression, every secondary cause of any cancer growth is mitochondria dysfunction, which is really, really powerful. Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Something about them is that they love light, physical light, but they also like lightness of your thoughts. I have this book that I've mentioned a few times, but I wanted to bring it up just in case you guys have never read it. It's called Power vs. Force. This is a great book. It's written by Dr. David Hawkins. I found it from this YouTube channel that I had come across a few years ago, and I really, really love it. And in this book, he has a map of consciousness, And there's all these emotions, there's level of emotions. So at the bottom, there's shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. And as it goes up, it maps courage and courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And this is based off of work that he did with muscle testing. So going back to what we started with before is, do you think that being hunched over like this could be a symptom of Alzheimer's dementia? Could it be a symptom of you losing yourself faster than you need to, rather than you being confident and open and centered in yourself and peaceful in your nervous system? So anyway, I like this book because he talks about the emotions, and before I had read it, I had never really thought about the emotions categorized in such a way. And sometimes I really like to just open his books and flip to like a random page. So if y'all want to do that, we'll do that like right now. And so I'm like, tell me if there's one thing I really need to look and see and know, like what would that be right now, you know? Let's see, the high 400s are associated with leaders in their respected fields and with high social prestige, accomplishment, and corresponding social trappings. Both Einstein and Freud calibrated at 499, but while the 400s are the level of universities and doctorates, they are also the source of limited and limiting Newtonian visions of the universe and the Cartesian split mind and body. Interestingly, both Newton and Descartes calibrated at 499. So this is like, it's muscle testing that 499 is like vibration, because you know the cell, just like I would talk about with the brainwave states of consciousness, it's a we have energy. Like the only way that the cell can function is because it has a charge in it. The charge is like operated a lot by the mitochondria, but it's operated by our nutrient status. So sodium, potassium, calcium, selenium, all these, the reasons that we eat, or we eat for minerals, which hold a charge. If you look at the atomic, the periodic table of the elements, like that's the reason we eat, because our bodies are made of those beautiful elements, and they create a sense of peace or fight or flight in the body. So I talked about this before. This is the brainwave states. This is kind of levels of consciousness that we experience, and they can be correlated to the breathing, the stress response. So if you notice, like, hunch forward like this. Years ago, I'll just talk about myself. Years ago, I was a mouth breather. And then I read this book too. As I started training, it brought my posture back up, and I started breathing through my nose again. But a lot of us, especially hunched over and, scrolling on the phone, we breathe through the mouth, and the mouth is very inefficient. It's a very metabolically hefty way to live. And so if you are a mouth breather, look into nose breathing. Tape your mouth shut at night. It's a very easy fix, but there's that book, Breath by James Nestor, that will teach you. This guy, he did a study with him and his other friend. 10 days he taped his mouth shut. 10 days he taped his nose shut. And the bacteria within his nasal cavities all changed. His muscular within the nasal cavities atrophied. And he developed sleep apnea and other sleep disturbances during, when he would sleep. They had all these markers he'd measure. And then he did 10 days with his mouth closed, where he was just breathing through his nose. And the bacteria changed within that. He became healthier. He slept better at night. Hormone levels leveled out. And it's quite crazy that something so simple, I always say keep it simple, because we just go to complicate things so much. Like, I was talking to my sister yesterday, and she was like, oh, I gotta go to the gym and blah blah. I was like, you don't have to go to the gym. Like, right now while we're on the phone, you can do 10 squats and 10 push-ups. You can do a round of exercise right now. You don't even have to go to the gym. You don't even have to get dressed. You could do that naked. You can simplify things. Allow it to be simple, because it is complex when you start to think about all these different brainwave states. But anyway, and things of the cell and whatnot. But you can simplify things. So we talked about before, this delta wave sleep state is the slowest you can see, 0.5 to 4 hertz. If you were to, go to sleep and they put a little measuring cap on you, they would pick up these frequencies within the brain. So that one, this delta wave sleep state, is related to like deep rest and repair, right? Melatonin secretion, right? Because melatonin is like our guardian within the body. Melatonin comes from tryptophan, the amino acid. We also can make most of it in the sunlight. We diminish this delta wave sleep state as we get older, or as you can imagine, we go towards a state of like Alzheimer's dementia, right? Because Alzheimer's dementia is typically something that we see in older individuals. However, it's starting to become something that's more prevalent in the younger generations because we have a lot of chemicals, a lot of things affecting our biology, a lot of divorce, a lot of dementia, separation. But we always want to invest into this delta wave sleep state, and we always want to invest into our posture. And that was just a few thoughts that I had, so always thinking about dementia and Alzheimer's. And, I read that book, A Course in Miracles, and it says a lot of times, like, joy is always present in front of us. And it's crazy how, because of our minds, and in Alzheimer's dementia, we lose our minds. We still have a body, but we lose our minds. That's the most fascinating thing about it to me. But in everyday life, we get caught up in the seriousness and the stress of things happening instead of being connected to like the greater sense of joy and peace that's around us. And they say, like, in quantum physics, they have the quantum field, which permeates through everything. And in religion, they call that God, permeates through everything. And when we're in a state of tension and stress, we don't experience the quantum field. We don't experience the joy that is around us. We don't experience the good in other people. We experience the negativity because we are holding that negativity. So I was also thinking about the power of reflection, because I've been reflecting a lot on some things in my past, and reflection is so powerful. Like, reflection is who we are. Our memory center, hippocampus, our ability to remember who we are makes us who we are. Like, if you meet someone with dementia, they forget everything. They get lost. Like, they'll leave the house. My great-grandmother had dementia, and they had to literally lock her in the house because she would just leave the house and get lost, and end up God knows where. So our ability to reflect on our past and reflect on who we are, of course there's the balance with not being overly critical, but it's a superpower to be able to reflect on, how did my day go? Did I like how I felt throughout the day? Do I want to do something different tomorrow? Tomorrow's a new sun, a new day, a new biochemistry. And then in my past, are there things that I am still holding on to? Are there people that I need to forgive and extend peace to? And the power to be able to reflect and to remember, and it's so powerful in my opinion, because of when you think of Alzheimer's dementia and us really forgetting who we are and why we come here. And again, when we get caught up in those negative states and we get stressed and impatient with people, we are just like, don't you know the reason that person cut you off, or that person who's moving really slow in front of you in the grocery store? Don't you know that they're here to teach you what patience is? Don't you know that you're meant to slow down? When you drop and break that glass, don't you know that you are being told to slow down? Can you listen to the cues of the environment, because it's always guiding you. All these forces, all these magnetic forces happening around us. We can't see half of them. Our perception is so limited. That's what I always say. I'm here to remind you of your beauty. Here to remind you that when you go and look in the mirror, just remember that you do not see yourself accurately. We do not see ourselves for who we truly are. And if you don't like your reflection, I'll first off say close your eyes. But if you're getting feedback, if you're having thoughts, this is useful information for you. It's always useful. Your reflection is always guiding you. So if there's something that you don't like or that you're uncomfortable with, it is a cue. It's an invitation, just like symptoms or invitations are teachers to guide you, right? Like, oh, I'm gaining weight, right? I'm slouched forward. This is a symptom, right? I feel fatigued. This is a symptom. It's a guidance. So I wish you the best of luck, really and truthfully. I love you so much. You're so beautiful and intelligent. And if you want to share this with somebody, you're more than welcome to. But as always, I do wish you the best of luck.